Now let's look at using the code editor component of Makerspace. So Makerspace is another stash project. And let's go ahead and we select Code Mirror here. So hopefully you've already created all your groups and so on. So go under Code Mirror and then choose Edit Entry. And let's create a new project here. So give it a name and say Create. So we select this new project. And now you see we have a form down here where we can enter our code. And we can start entering code from scratch here. But let's look at using the code helper. So now that we've created the entry, we don't need to do anything more here. We can go over to code helper. And here you've got snippet groups. This should say snippet. So you've got groups of snippets. And you select the group, and then there'll be another list of snippets. And this will grow over time. So anyway, let's just put down a basic snippet. So we say here add code snippet, and you can see here there's a class that's defined. So this class receives a single value z, and it creates an attribute in that object that will be instantiated, which will be 3 times the value of the value sent in. So that's just a test class, and so you can create whatever classes you want over here. And then to run any of your code, you also need to create a main function and return it. So your main function will receive a bunch of settings that will be used, which you don't have to predefine. The system will take care of the settings here. And among the settings, there will be a viewport. So you create a shorthand reference to that viewport, and you can attach to the viewport whatever user interface elements you like. So in this case, we are simply instantiating this class. We are creating an object T1, and we are instantiating with a value of 4, and you can see that means that the attribute Z will then be 120, and we'll output that value here. And note here that you have to render the viewport. So you can attach whatever you like to the viewport, and then you have to render it to get a result on the screen. So you can say execute and preview. And there you go, you've got an answer in here. You've got the script that has been added into the viewport. Now, the point of this is you can add other script as well. So let's look here. So we've laid down a basic frame, right? A basic frame just shows you can create a class, and it's creating, importantly, that main function and returning it. But now let's go ahead and add other snippets. So let's choose some user interface elements. So basic script. So this one is just creating a head with hello world in it. So let's add this. And note I've positioned the cursor here, and then I clicked add code snippet. So it adds it where you click. If you preview this one, you can see now it's added that bit of text in there. Okay, so we've added that. Let's add, after the answer is, let's add a form, and you can see the snippet here. You can edit the snippet here before you click add snippet, and it will take your edits. So here we are creating a form. You can see again we are attaching to the viewport an object of type bluey form, and that excuse me that has 2 fields, and it's got a button that does something. So let's just add that. So you can see that's added that form now, and then if we execute that, you can see the form appears here. Excuse me. And that button in the form, that also does a little something as well. So you can read through the code to see what all that does. And let's finally just add another little accordion. Let's position where we want that to appear. Let's put it here. And we say add code snippet, and again execute. And now you can see a little accordion thing appears down here. Excuse me. So now you can go ahead and save this code stash, and we want to see whether this code stash can be used by another user. So first we have to go and get the stash ID. So this bit of code is saved with an ID of 995. And what we're going to do now is use a stash viewer to run this, right? We don't want our users to see all of this this editor interface. We want the user to just use our front end. So the user must just use the system that we are creating. So obviously there will be many more snippets added over time. The point of this is more to show us how to use the code editor, and we'll look at in the future other more sophisticated interface elements and the connection to databases and using machine learning and all those good things. For now, let's just see how a user can access this. So I'm going over here and I'm refreshing this page. Well, we have to specify the URL here. So this is 995. So take note, the viewer for the stash is here. So this whole thing is a modern scholarship project. Makerspace view is how you can view your system. And then you go index.html and you specify your stash ID. So we've looked up on the form that our stash has this ID. So you go here under edit entry, you click on your stash of interest, and you can see here 995. And so now that that's selected, we can go ahead and load up that page. And you'll find that when you specify your stash ID here and load this up, it will display the system that you've created there. So that's how you can create your code stash and how you can get your users to access it. And obviously you don't want to ask your users to implement such a complicated URL. You would typically just reference this URL on your own domain name. So you might buy a domain name somewhere, and then you would just have your domain name reference this, or in the HTML on the index page for your new domain, you can use that link to serve the page. Right, so you can do your work in this code editor. It will create your prototype or your system, and then you just go ahead and direct the viewer to the URL or the domain that you purchase.